Hello, today I'm going to show you my buttons. And before I get any further, I want to apologize. First of all, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat, so I may be clearing my throat a lot. And second of all, my husband got up really early today. Usually he's in bed till at least like 10. But yeah, I was planning to do this video and he got up bright and early to turn on the dishwasher and empty the ice machine. So those noises are going on behind me and there's nothing I can do about it. Lots of noises. So yes, buttons. I have a great number of polymer clay buttons, and that is because I needed one button. I needed one button for a cardigan that I made, and I wanted it to be a nice big button. And I didn't want to scour the internet looking for the perfect button when I could very well make exactly what I wanted. So what I did was I made that button, and then I made like well over 100 more buttons. This isn't even all of them because yeah, I've already given some away. So I know the main thing people will want to know is how I made the buttons, and I'll run you through it very quickly. I'm not going to do a complete demonstration, but if that's something people would like to actually see, I can arrange that at some point in the future. Sorry. So yeah, I'll just take you through it very quickly. All of these buttons are irregular and lumpy and asymmetrical, and that is by design. I didn't want any perfect buttons. I didn't try to make any perfect buttons or perfectly round or perfectly symmetrical because I love asymmetry. And if something is deliberately asymmetrical, then it's like my brain can relax because when things are supposed to be symmetrical, they never are, and that really bothers me because I will find every detail that is not symmetrical, thus proving to myself that it is not actually symmetrical. So when things are made to be asymmetrical, it's easier for my brain to just enjoy the thing. I don't know how much sense that makes, but welcome to my wonderful brain. Anyway, how to make polymer clay buttons. So polymer clay is the plastic clay that you bake in the oven. You can see the back is a bit wonky because I've been doing them on foil. Anyway, so I just kind of get a ball of clay and then I flatten it out until I get roughly the thickness that I am happy with. Then I will take a toothpick and make the holes roughly where I want them. Then flip it over and push it through the back, because if you don't, you can see on this one I didn't necessarily do it from the back as I should have, and the holes end up a lot smaller if you don't. So if you want the holes to be even on both sides, the same diameter, poke your stick through both sides, and then very carefully I stick it down on my foil tray. And then after I've got all the buttons roughly sculpted and with holes and stuck to the tray, I will take this pigment powder. It's the same kind of powder that you get for like your nails. If you do gel manicures and you do instead of nail polish, you do like the powder. So it's very metallic and shiny. Some of them are very iridescent. The camera is not going to do any of them justice. These look incredible in person. There's so much going on, so much depth to the sparkle. But unfortunately, you can only see so much of that on the camera. So yeah, you take the pigment powders and I apply them just with the little, it's kind of like an eyeshadow applicator with a nice soft pad, but tiny little pad like an eyeshadow wand. And I just rub it on the clay where I want it. So this one I had obviously the purple and the kind of orangey gold. And then after I've got the pigment powder on, I etch, because this is obviously black polymer clay, which is the best color to back the chameleon pigments and the metallic pigments with, because they'll reach their full kind of glittery potential on with a black background. Black is also good for silhouettes, and I really like to draw silhouettes, so I just take a needle or a pin and I just etch my design in very, very carefully. So this is, I don't know if you can see, but it is kind of gouged in, very gently gouged. And then bake them, and then after they're baked, they'll look quite dull and lifeless. But then after they're cooled, I put on a nice generous coat of clear nail varnish. I could obviously varnish them with like a spray varnish, but I like the control of the nail varnish, and I know it's skin safe. It might not be like what do you call it? Like washing machine safe. I'm not sure. I've not tried. I mean, I guess I could put one through the wash and see what happens, but I'm kind of envisioning these as things that you like. Well, aside from the one that's on my cardigan, I'll wash that at some point, so I guess I will see. But kind of craft buttons to use in crafting, not necessarily on clothing, but yeah, I should eventually do a wee experiment and see how they fare in the washing machine. I don't know if I dare put them in the dryer, but definitely in the washing machine. So that's it. That's so easy, so easy. So just the sculpting, the pigments, the gouging. If you're not artistic, there's other things you can do that aren't quite like drawing. I will show you some other things I've done. I've got some lumpy bumpy ones here. Here's a good example. That's not sculpted, and literally just had like some sculpting tools, and I've poked. You make little balls. Oh, sorry, it's coming out of focus. So just basically making little balls and then booping it with a round sculpting tool. So that's not particularly like drawing, it's just making textures, really. And then you can see boop, 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 made dimples everywhere. And that's it. That's like super simple. It does take time and patience, I'll give you that. But you don't have to know how to draw in order to do that. So I've got a few like that. As you can see, there's just some clay snakes, some clay balls. Anyone can make a clay ball. And then that's a clay ball that's been booped with a round booping instrument. So yeah, you can make all sorts of really cool textures. Over here, look at these. I used a real ammonite impression fossil. So I think my mother-in-law found it actually. Let's see, I've got it over here. So this was obviously like the relief from an ammonite fossil. My mother-in-law, I believe, found this one. It was just on a shelf, and it's quite strong, quite hard. And I thought, oh, I wonder if I can just use that to make a mold, because the polymer clay is quite soft. And so I did, and that's how I got these buttons with genuine. So of course, because that's the relief, it makes a lovely cast of the ammonite, and all I did was press that into the clay very gently, and then I applied my pigment powder and everything. So yes, you don't have to be super artistic in order to make some really cool things. And then you've got this guy here, he's great. Come on, stay in focus, please. So yeah, oh, also, of course, you can just have really plain buttons. Oh, making a mess. So here's some really plain ones that I've And that's just, you know, dragging some patterns through it. Look at all these things. And they're just plain, and they're just beautiful being plain. Lumpy and bumpy. Then for some of my more intricate designs, with this one I had like the Northern Lights, auroras in mind. So you can see I just tried to kind of create the color palette for that. And then for the bit, you can see how gougy it is. I just did some like pine forest silhouettes at the bottom. I don't know how this will look or how I'll use it, or I mean, I'll assume that I'll probably not be keeping many of these, but someone will, and I look forward to see how they get used. So here's another one. I quite like the shape of this button, because buttons don't need to be round. They can be any shape. Here's a nice big aurora one. And I do wish I could show you how beautiful these colors are in real life, because they are just like stunningly vivid and metallic. And there's just a lot of depth to the sparkle, but that's something your eyeballs need to pick up. So I've done a lot of these kind of silhouette ones as well with the trees, because I really enjoy making that sort of thing. Here's a nice one with kind of a rainbow and just branches. I love branches, very organic shapes. Then I did a whole bunch that are kind of botanical. So look at this one, just like leaf impression type designs. So I've got that. This one's like dandelions with little seeds flying away. Obviously it's not like really well done and detailed, but you get the idea of what it's meant to be. Here's kind of a fern impression. Oh, sorry. It comes out of focus when I'm not looking or paying attention too much. So there's like some ferns, and this one's just some simple leaves. And they make me happy. Like this one too. Those holes are not symmetrical. Then I was kind of experimenting, seeing what I could do. That's with the latest batch I did, just kind of seeing how far I could take it. So with this one, I've got the gouged kind of silhouettes, but then I added clay, so it's actually got a lot of different textures. So this is kind of cut in with the trees, but then the land, I've added more clay, so that's actually sticking out. You can see there's a lot of texture going on there. So I really like that. That's something I think I'll experiment with further. Then with kind of the botanical idea, I started sculpting like, this is just some leaves, but they are like sculpted on there, so they're sticking out. They're lumpy and bumpy, and some flowers. I did the same. And then there's this one, which is also more flowers. So that's interesting. That's something I'd like to experiment with further. And then there's this one. I made a little tiny beetle, and I definitely like to do more of this. Yeah, I love that little bug on the button. I think that is just, oh, I'm going to need to get more clay. I've also got a dedicated little oven. It's okay if you're doing small amounts of like polymer clay to do it in your oven, but if you go off on a tangent like I've clearly done here, it's probably better to have a dedicated little oven to do all that in, because it's, I mean, they say it's safe, but it's not ideal to be doing all of this in your oven. So it's just like a toaster oven, not like a whole other big oven. It's nothing crazy, just a toaster oven for polymer clay. So yes, these are all of my buttons, and I wish I could show them all to you in detail because I don't know, I really do like them, but I also know that probably at this point you've seen enough. I considered putting some in my shop. I know a lot of people who have seen them said that this is something that they would buy to use in their crafts and things, and yeah, I think that I could be open to putting some in my shop just to see what happens. Maybe make up cards with like, I don't know, 6 or 8 buttons on it and see if there's any interest. So yeah, this is probably a craft that I will continue with, and yeah, you know me, or if you follow my channel in any kind of capacity, you know that I will just do something to death until I get it out of my system. And despite having all of these buttons, I don't think it's quite out of my system yet, especially since that little bug one was like the last one I made, and I really, really want to make more. Also, there's one button I did with 4 holes. Haven't done any others with 4 holes, so maybe I should do some more with 4 holes, I don't know. It's also occurred to me that I can apply all of these techniques to making magnets, to making badges, to making hair barrettes, anything I want. Polymer clay is incredibly versatile. Buttons are certainly just like the very tip of the iceberg in terms of what I could do with this. So there will likely be more videos exploring my polymer clay adventures. Well, I guess there's already are quite a lot with my polymer clay adventures, but in this kind of genre. So I'm going to leave it here because I don't think I have a whole heck of a lot else to say. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.